So this is the prototype for the memory wheel developed by Giordano, Bruno, and also Ramon, Lull. And I wanted to briefly outline how it works for those who are interested and what you can accomplish with these things. So you'll see that it's just paper with a string connecting 3 circles that you make, and then there's no glue or anything. It's just paper, string, and ink. So this first wheel has all the letters on it, and the letters correspond to concepts or ideas of a similar nature. So you could say that they're people. Okay, so this is your people wheel, and each letter signifies a person. And so this is the adject. And then the second wheel is an attribute. So same number of symbols and letters, and each one of those denotes an attribute. And when you rotate them, you can make different combinations. Same goes for this third outer wheel. You just pick a different subject or attribute, and you can come up with lots of combinations. And the reason for doing this is I like to use it as a creative tool. That is, it's sort of endless. It can be used as problem-solving tool, as well as a creative tool. So say, well, this is just sort of how it's structured, and a little bit about how you make it. And so once I grasped that concept, I moved on to making my own, which is this, and this one's unfinished. I haven't started inking it, but in the middle here you have mythological figures from ancient Greece, just as an example. You know, you have Apollo, Artemis, Mars, Venus, Mercury, basic Roman pantheon here. And then this wheel, I put the animals of the Celtic zodiac, and also musical notes. I don't know if you can see that very well, but A sharp, B, D, and also here I put what those correspond to in terms of the 12-pointed divine gates. And here you have the zodiac signs, at least the ones according to tropical or sidereal, and also their tarot correspondences, as well as the planetary bodies associated with or exalted in each sign. And then on the outside, I put directions. So sort of north, northeast, you know, those directions. And what each of those directions correspond to in terms of lifestyle in, I believe it's the Hindu system. It might be Ayurvedic, but I can't recall right now what the name is of that system. But so you have these 4 systems, that are syncretically linked by the maneuvering of this wheel. And so, by way of an example, you spin it, sort of looking away, not trying to think about what you're achieving at all. You're just sort of spinning it randomly. This is where the Zairja idea comes into play, where you have infinite number of possibilities and ideas, and a lot of times the trouble is pinpointing just one thing to focus your attention on. So it helps to have a good intention for whatever you're trying to come up with, sort of an idea that you're struggling with that you might find a creative answer for that may or may not be the right one, but it confuses your normal mode of thinking is essentially what these wheels do, to get you to think differently. So, I know it sounds crazy, but anyway, so we've spun it a bit, and you just sort of pick one. Sometimes I go by which direction the string points after I've spun it. So this is pointing to Dionysus Bacchus, the sacral chakra, a sharp seahorse. And already that creates some mental imagery. You can imagine Bacchus is sort of the god of partying and revelry and enjoyment. So you can picture him riding on a seahorse and, doing his thing. I guess seahorses are also maybe a fertility symbol. So it could be, if you're trying to think of a subject for a painting, you could do like an underwater scene of somebody riding on a seahorse at a banquet or something like that. And it's just a festival, That's a very good place for that adject to be placed. And so, let's see. Here's Dionysus, and then you just sort of go out from the center here. And these line up with Sagittarius. And that's the bow and arrow. And also temperance is part of that. So you could have a character there who is let's say he's a hunter, and he's sort of socially uncomfortable at the party. And he's more about out hunting, and he's a family person, and this sort of thing doesn't amuse him, the revelry and the carousing and the drinking. So you could do a painting about that, him showing temperance and good moderation in his habits, sort of being a part of the festival, but not letting the hedonistic aspects get to him. I don't know, something like that. And then finally, the final ring actually lines up pretty well with that idea already, and I hadn't even read it, but it says it's pointing to the northeast, which is for mental clarity. So he has mental clarity because he's not drinking, and he has better health because alcohol is poison and all that. But it's sort of, it could be a piece about pointing out the dichotomy of enjoying oneself and taking care of your body and that kind of thing. So it could be the importance of temperance in moderation. Maybe it could be a painting about that. So that's just one spin of this thing, and you've already got great imagery you can draw from in your creative project. And just briefly want to, because this is taking longer than I wanted it to, but briefly show this larger wheel to show you that there's you're only limited by your imagination. And I like to do things as they've been passed down through the years and through different traditions in a syncretic sort of style, because I love learning about all sorts of different cultures and what their beliefs were. As an artist, I think that's an important thing to be aware of. So I started doing this as a way of broadening my own knowledge and memory of these things in order to draw and create a more complete picture of the themes and the subtext behind some of the paintings and drawings that I love so much and wanted to be able to produce and just become a better, well-rounded artist, I guess. But so, this wheel has Buddhist ideas about reality, like the origin of suffering, nirvana, and the path that you're on, as well as directions. So these sort of help to determine if you have a question or a problem, which sort of thing is bothering you, or something you just are interested in knowing more about. Could point towards that. And the wheel outside of it is the 8 Buddhist, or what Buddha talked about is the keys to living a good life, such as right resolve, mindfulness, livelihood, speech. Those sort of principles, and also with which sense is attributed to them, or what those precepts are actually talking about. So, right livelihood and the body, the right speech with your tongue, right conduct with your nose, right effort, ear. It's just sort of a different way of looking at it, maybe. And then outside of that, you've got the planets, and then the next wheel is zodiac, because I find the zodiac is very good at expanding these ideas into a really creative and interesting way that you hadn't thought of previously, because there's a lot of energies that are focused in constellations, and that can shift your thinking in that direction. And there's all these different correspondences with each of them that you can find, and I just put a few of them on there. Like Scorpio has to deal with the intestine, and death, and Pluto likes it there, apparently. And so outside of that, I put the Navamshas. That's this wheel right here. And these, if you're not familiar with those, it's the Vedic astrological stars. So they function similarly to the sidereal zodiac, but they're distinct from them, and there's more of them. I believe there's 27 or 28, maybe, of Navamshas. And this is a vast subject that I still don't quite grasp, but I love learning about it. And outside of that, I put some runes from the Futhark, and outside of that, I put some other stuff, and I think you get the idea. But these are Buddhist deities, I guess, and as well as I took some suggestions from Bruno's books, because it's hard to find information about, say, Aparajita or Hayagriva here in the West. Maybe it's not difficult, but I haven't been able to find much information about them online, so it's hard to to imagine what sort of things they would be corresponding with. But I kind of like adding that to the wheels as things that, and names and ideas that I'm not as familiar with, because that will challenge me to research more. And so, because I was having trouble with that, I added things like farmer or librarian or shepherd, different sort of roles. And then the final wheel is sort of the Hindu cosmos, the dimensions. So there's, let's see, I can't remember, is it? Yeah, there's 31 of them. And so the lowest and the highest realms of existence right here, which is one of my favorite words that I cannot pronounce, probably, but Navasana Nasanya Yatana and Niraya, which is the lowest hell. So highest heaven, lowest hell, and then everything in between. And I like having this in the outer wheel because that can put everything else in the context. So there you have it. A sort of lengthy but short introduction to what these are, these Volvelles or Zairjas, or wheels, I guess. But I started using these a while back and making my own to help me with my art and thinking about things in a different way than I had been previously, creatively. And they're very easy to make. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and a comment, and go check out my website, calebpowellartist.com, where you can see some of my work. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.